This is Karamjit Singh from Digital News Asia, and you're watching our weekly show called Nadi Digital Economy Malaysia. And when I say we, of course, I'm doing it together with my colleague Dzof Azmi, who today is actually not in the Klang Valley. He's actually in the lovely, lovely city of Kuching, and he is also relying on his mobile broadband service, okay, hotspot, right, to do the show. And you are going to you are going to hear a difference in the quality of our audio, but he's using 4G, and I leave it up to him whether he wants to disclose who his service provider is, and it may come out during the show. But
well, the thing is, Karam, we have a story later where this will fit in very nicely, right?
Correct. So, yes, exactly. So we'll get started first with this. Actually happened last week, not this past week. And remember, we always record the show on a Saturday, and it's a rainy Saturday now. And I love rainy weather; it's my favorite weather. So I'm loving this. But I also obviously love this show. I love doing it with Dzof, exchanges of opinions. And by the way, we hope all of you, when you listen to the show, you'll also comment on our YouTube channel so that we can have a bit more engagement going there also, right? But anyway, let's get started with our show. And we're going to talk about Mosti launching the Malaysian startup ecosystem roadmap. But one part, there were two things, right? There was a roadmap that was actually not launched, so we're not going to talk about it. It was only there was only like one line during the event, but most of it was about this My Startup platform. And this was basically your one-stop location, one-stop shop, I want to say, but not really shop, where you can get all kinds of information about startups in Malaysia, service providers who are focusing on helping startups, right? Mentors, and various government grants and programs that are being held also. Like, for example, somebody very senior in the ecosystem shared with me that Matrade next week is having a webinar. It's actually a hybrid event, a physical, but they're limiting it to like 80 people. And of course, you can listen to it live from the comfort of wherever you are, and talking about the various government grants. And this is not focused on startups, but of course, many startups, it will be valuable for many startups to know. So I suspect when with this platform up now, by right, this event should also be on that platform. I'm not sure, but with this platform, we're calling it's called although we say My Startup, the platform is called www.mystartup.gov.my. And what I want to talk about is that this is not the first time the Malaysian government has realized the value of a one-stop portal like this. Even previously, it has been done before. And when I was covering biotech back in 2004, the CEO of Biotech Corp then, who was Iskandar Mizal Mahmud, who is now the CEO of MAHB, by the way, was saying that we must have a one-stop portal where you can get data about the biotech startups in the country. So a lot of agency CEOs realize that when you're in the ecosystem, you want to create a portal where it's easy the key point is actually just easy for people to get information about companies in that space and service providers who are focusing on them, and events, right? And also grants that are targeting that space. So we're now in the latest iteration. When I say latest, means that Magic in the past also had its own initiative, and I think they call it Startup Central, and I could be wrong there, but I think Magic had something. And also, on the flip side, entrepreneurs in Malaysia were saying, "Hey, man, I'm fed up with us not having this easy location to get information." And two entrepreneurs in particular have started this before. Bikesh from 1337 started something called muruku.com. Of course, true to his Indian roots, it's muru -ku and then .com. And it's a nice play, a nice play of words, right? Like Malaysia ku or Dana ku. So this muruku-ku. You go to HTTPS and you can see what he has done. His is entrepreneurs on your own. You've got to go and put in details about your own company, right, for this platform. So it's really, you call it, what's that term, Dzof? Crowdsourced. It is crowdsourced. And there's another entrepreneur who has also built his own version, which is called Startfund, Startfund.my. And this is Arvind Patmarajah. He has created his own. He actually also went to Cradle. And I think he went to Magic also to say, look, you've got this incredible database of startups. Could you please share that database with me so I can populate my platform? And it becomes the main location. And I think he had spoken to, I know he's spoken to Magic, he's spoken to Cradle also. There was some limited cooperation, but the fact that now Cradle has been empowered to be the one-stop platform, I'm hoping that Cradle will partner with him because he's already got quite a lot of database there, and at least use him as a service provider to populate their platform because they've received the mandate from the government. Of course, Cradle is not going to say that Mr. Minister and whoever the minister is, right, at the moment is Dr. Adam Baba. This guy called Arvind has already done it. We would like to channel all our resources to him. Of course, they cannot do that because the minister and his ministry wants a win under their name, right, with this. And this is a low-hanging fruit, by the way. So, but I'm hoping that they will at least partner with him in maybe a commercial basis because he has built up a substantial database himself. And because, by the way, Cradle has already partnered with a Singapore-based company on a commercial basis to populate this platform with some very relevant information. So I got no issues with them partnering with a Singapore-based startup, but I think Arvind has done a good job. So they should look forward to doing some commercial-based deal with them with the target that this platform called mystartup.gov.my becomes the go-to place. Dzof, anything you want to add to this?
Just to say, one of the things that crossed my mind is that obviously having a database and a list of potential startups or potential partners, also things like training and upskilling programs, right? Perhaps, and this is just an idea, the next step would be for someone to provide a service to help do this kind of matchmaking plan. Because when you go through the reason why is this, because when you log in and you go through the database, you see these long lists of potential partners, right? Of these guys that or funders, right? And honestly, to go one by one, it's a bit of a slog, right? What you need someone who has a bit of in the know information to sit down next to you and say, well, these guys are good for you and these guys are good for you. But then we're moving towards consultancy, right? So maybe I have to be a bit. Maybe someone's already doing that. I'm not very aware of it. That's
correct. So there's sort of things, but the key thing is it's already been done. Hopefully they do it well and they partner. My key takeaway, they partner with a Malaysian company. Somebody's already there, right? Both Bikesh also or definitely Arvind for sure. I look forward to seeing some positive developments here and look forward to this portal, becoming the go-to portal for everyone around the world. You want to get a quick feel or sense for what's going on in Malaysia, go there. And maybe now let's move to the next story is off, and this is a nice segue, I guess, for you.
Well, this is since we're talking about talents and trying to tap the potential talents. According to a report commissioned by Randstad Malaysia, conducted by YouGov, Tech Talent Expectation Survey. The big headline, Karam, you must know it because you wrote this headline. Half of tech talents rejected jobs due to mismatched expectations. So you have this really you have this survey that's done by I would say HR specialists or talent specialists, and they have a section that says top 5 reasons why tech talent turn down job opportunities, right? And 50%, 50% say mismatch between advertised job and actual job, which makes it sound like I said I'm looking for a web designer, and then when you come in and you do the interview, suddenly you find out what they really want is a full stack developer, right?
Yeah.
Or something like that. I have to say, and I think Karam and I talked about this, it's something that's a bit worrying because it sort of slows down the whole talent acquisition process, right, Karam?
Yeah.
I mean, if you can't get the talent you need, then how?
It also shines it shines a harsh light on employers as well, which means that basically a lot of talent are saying that when they go for interviews, they are not being given a truthful picture of what they're expected to do. And just very quickly, coincidentally, yesterday I was interviewing somebody for a role at DNA, correct? And this person is in a company now, and a person was saying that the actual expectations and demands of the role are very different versus what they were told. And it has left this person feeling very frustrated and disappointed and also now you're exposed to what this person feels is unwarranted criticism from the boss, right? And the most recent takeaway is the boss was saying that, we got to do a 1 month review, and I cannot justify your hire. And this person is intense. He said, look, what you told me you were expecting in the role is so different now. And here you are telling me that you cannot justify. Are you signaling that in our 1 month review, today's already the 25th, right? I guess, 27th, in a few days' time that you're going to say, I think you're not a good fit, you should leave. So it gets people really upset, and they feel that they've been unfairly treated. So I just had this example yesterday, and this survey is kind of indicating the same thing, right? It is astounding, man.
Yeah, that's also, and I think the other issues are like sometimes companies say that, for example, they will offer salaries up to X amount, but then the reality is when the candidates go in for interview, the salary doesn't come even close to the top end, as it were, right?
Yep.
It's actually an issue because there's actually it's a kind of an art and a science of how you can attract the right talent to work, not the best talent,
yes, correct,
the right talent to work. And it's what puzzles me, I suppose, is that this is the thing that companies have been doing for years and years and years and years, and yet sort of fundamentally struggle to get right. Other reasons why tech talent turned down job opportunities, which I found a bit amusing, was did not have positive impression of hiring manager, which I find a bit funny because you would think as a company you want to put your best foot forward, right?
Yeah.
and portray yourself in the best way. And clearly, in roughly 1/3 of the time, that's not happening.
By the way, the respondents were not all from Malaysia, right? There were respondents from Hong Kong and Singapore also, correct?
Yeah. But I think this particular results were for
very specific Malaysia lah. Okay.
Specific to Malaysia. The other one that gets me, 33%, interviewer does not seem to understand the job or role that they are hiring for.
Wow, insane, man. Again, right? Very poor of the organization.
Yes. So you were right, Karam, to call out the fact that this does not really make the companies look good, right? And forgive me for saying that, but I've been told in the past that the HR department in the company is not usually where people feel like, oh, that's the part of the company I want to work for, right? They're always looking for either the core business or some other thing, right? Like project management or something like that. HR is always seen as this like slightly lower down. But I think this demonstrates how crucial it is that you have the right people in your company trying to source the talent for you. It's really vitally important.
Honestly, Dzof, this is a given. The fact that this is still an issue based on this survey is crazy. Yeah? It's almost like companies are not taking the hiring process seriously. So I've never ever asked this before. So I'm going to start asking from an hour. I was just with the CEO earlier, right? I'm going to start asking during your interview processes, who is the person there? Depending on the role, I would. And I'm going to actually message the CEO later and ask him, because I just had Tetare with him and say, at least in his organization, who is the person? By right, it should be HR and the business unit, somebody from that business unit. It's just logical. But this survey makes it seem like it is not logical. And the ironic thing is, they say, the most common thing about common sense is how uncommon it is. Story, which is on Jandela, and this is actually was a commentary written by an Open Signal a data analyst, and because this is an organization that tracks 4G and 5G for operators around the world, and they're particularly interested in Malaysia because we are strengthening our 4G and we are trying to roll out 5G. And Dzof, you are mentioning, Karam, do you want to place a bet that we can get a 5G rollout by within the next 5 weeks, correct? Because we're almost at the end of the year. And I told you, I think it'll happen, but let's leave that aside, focusing on this. And because, Jandela has been the push by I can't even say the current government, right? It was by the previous government, and they were actually carrying on from what the Pakatan Harapan government was doing. They just rebranded it as Jendela.
That's right.
But to be fair, the minister at that point, Saifuddin, put in a lot of strength, a lot of focus and energy to say that, hey, let's make sure our 4G is as good as it should be. And it's not in terms of quality of service, by the way, it's in terms of getting the coverage wider to more Malaysians and to narrow the digital divide gap. And that's what this analyst, Open Signal, was talking about. And at the end, and there are two charts there which are very, very interesting. I again urge you to go and look at the chart. And I think a lot of media also probably covered this or ran this commentary. You don't have to look at DNA's chart. We're all running the same story, right? But go and have a look at those two charts are very interesting. And the chart that I liked is that they talk about how 4G availability has improved and 3G availability has declined, especially in sparsely populated areas, which is the bullseye that this initiative by the government is targeting, right? You want Malaysians in the digital divide areas, sub-rural or rural areas, suburban or rural areas, to enjoy 4G. And this is, and at the end of the article, they said that we believe that the government has achieved its purpose, and of course there's more to be done, right? They're trying to narrow the gap even more. So kudos to the government for putting its foot down. Previous government under Pakatan National and under the current government, which I don't know what initials they're using, right? But the focus is still there on Jendela. And I'm really pleased that my fellow Malaysians in suburban and rural areas are enjoying better broadband. But I think for sure the quality of the broadband service has not improved, especially in urban areas. And I use your example, Dzof, right? Because whoever is listening today to the show can see that your video is not so clear and your audio also is not so good, and nothing wrong with that. But this also shows that mobile broadband is not very, and Kuching is a major city in the country, right? By right, you should have the same experience, but it's not obviously compared to if you're using Unify or any operators, fixed broadband service, correct?
Yeah, I mean, I just want to, you say this, but I just need to say, right, so I'm in Kuching because my wife is from Kuching, and so we come to Kuching relatively frequently. And over the last 10 to 11 years, when I've come to Kuching, I have seen a significant improvement in the quality of internet access. I mean, you say it's still not quite there yet, and I feel I really want to flip it. The fact that I can talk to you on my phone from Petrajaya, which used to have really, really terrible phone internet access, who when I first started coming here, the fastest you could get was StreamX. It really has come up in leaps and bounds. And the fact that I felt comfortable and confident enough to do this show over 4G, right? Says that I felt that, hey, it's at this level where this kind of thing is acceptable. Now, I did talk to some people here about whether 5G was going to roll out in Kuching, and the general sentiment is nobody really expects it to come anytime soon. But I feel that if it did come, there would be a segment of the population who would take advantage of it.
Oh yeah, of course, absolutely, yeah, absolutely. No, I think let's move on to the next story. But I think important also the fact that the digital divide has reduced in Malaysia. Also, Open Signal is saying that there will be a knock-on effect, a positive knock-on effect to the country's digital economy, correct? And you will see productivity also increase. And as people start to say that, hey, my mobile connectivity and my voice or data or my mobile broadband is getting better, you'll start using it more also. So great job there to the government for pushing this and continuing to put their foot on the pedal. And just a quick shout out to a Malaysian social enterprise called Native. And I think the Malay word for native means asli, right? Is it? Or orang asli?
Yes, that's right. Yeah. I mean, okay. You can say it. Yes.
Yeah, and it's perfectly wide because this and I've not heard of them before. And some people in the social enterprise space also have not heard of this company. They took part in a competition out of Singapore, organized by the Singapore International Foundation and Deutsche Bank, which is a partner for them. And they created this Made for Good award. global award, and I don't know, easily 1,000 over organizations participated, and Native, was a judge, one of the winners. And I was excited about this. And the entrepreneur, I don't know him. I've got his mobile number. I'm going to reach out to him to just talk to him and say what's going on, whether DNA can do a possible story. And why they want also is that they are focusing on indigenous tribes in Malaysia and helping them to earn a living, especially in the COVID era. What they done is they started introducing selling durians, right? Directly sourced from their partner communities. And, what I like, Dzof? They say that 40% of the sale, it goes back to the beneficiaries. And you may say it's low, but to me, 40% is realistic because you've got other costs involved, correct? So if you say 100%, I'm always skeptical when people say 100% or 90% or 80% goes back to the cost that you think your money is going to. You're buying products from them, right? But there is a cost to deliver these services in the supply chain. So at least 40% is going to the kampong folk, right, wherever they are. I think it's great. So just a shout out to Native. And I think the entrepreneur, the founder is somebody called Daniel Teo. So wonderful, Daniel, thumbs up to you. Keep it up. And hopefully at some point, we can say that 50% of the sales is going back to the entrepreneur, to the community partners. I don't know, but I will end it at that. Dzof, do you want to say anything to this show before we end the show?
Just to say that if you're interviewing them, can we also get some durians at the same time? So it's like 2 for 1.
2 for 1, right? Yeah. I definitely want to try my durians from there. Got to wait till next year. End this week's show. Although I know Dzof was itching to want to talk about a quick 5G episode again, but we are almost at we're past our time already. So we're going to leave it for next week when I will write my commentary on 5G, and we can start the show with 5G next year and Malaysia's DNB, right? With that, thank you for watching the show, and we'll see you again next week.